Alrighty, day 17 of this Vauxhall Vivaro camper van conversion, and we are nearly there. I'm going to clean up today. We've got some of this glue stuff on the windows here where I've just missprayed that whilst putting the carpet on. So I'm going to clean all of that up. There's a little bit of that around the place. Just take any of it off the walls here, which has inadvertently been squirted up there. And then we're going to clean the whole thing. Start from the front, go right the way through, get any dust up, hoover up, and then later on we are going to put the rock and roll bed in here. I'm still waiting for the upholstery to arrive. I've got someone making this for me, and it should be here hopefully today. So anyhow, the first thing to do today is to get this stuff off. Now that comes off quite easily with a little bit of white spirit. WD-40, something like that would get it off. So I'm going to do the windows and then we'll clean the rest of the van. Right, so we've got everything cleaned up here. Windows are nicely cleaned, all of that glue off them. I've gotten all the glue off the carpet. That just brushed off quite easily. Cleaned everything up, swept everything out. I've got all the floor protectors off now. So the next thing I'm going to attempt is getting the rock and roll bed in here. And I say attempt. Now this wooden rock and roll bed, it's not particularly heavy, but it is bulky and it's a little bit difficult to get in here. So I've got my mate to give us a hand, and we're going to slide it in through the door and then see if we can get it back into place in the van.
Catch him there, outside there.
That's it.
Back round again. So.
I know, it's going to be really awkward. Right, okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. Right, first attempt, a little bit too tight. So I'm going to take the panels off and we'll put it back together when we go out in the van. Probably should have done that to begin with, but you know. Right. Sit about there, but we won't know where.
Okay, get the top one.
And so we'll get the top and everything on, yeah. Right, got the base in. That was easy. Yes. Good. Right, I'll just get the hinges catching.
Yeah, the hinges just catching on this front bit.
Ah, right.
It'll just stop itself.
It will, I.
That's it.
That's fully out. Yeah. Excellent. It's good here. Right, I think everything's looking a lot better here. I'm going to put these back hinges on, and then we'll adjust everything. And if anything does need a little bit of nibbling with a jigsaw to get it around these pillars, we will do that. Rightio, so I've secured the back hinges on the back board of this. And the next thing to do is just put it all back together with these screws through the top, which will go into the sliding frame below. Now, what I'm saying is this should slide out very easily, and once that's done, we'll position it exactly in the van and then attach it to the floor, screw it to the floor. So, let's have a little look at that in action. That's a smooth operation. Now, it's just, is the back line right? Just going to make sure that the back line is right here. With the back door shut, we've got about 1 centimetre there. And the only other thing to check with this is when it's in the folded position, is there enough room here to sit the upholstery on without it jamming up against this too much. So I'm going to put it back up into position, see if this is all right. If that's all good, it's getting screwed to the floor. So we've got it back in the seating position, and if we take a look here, you see this is what I was talking about. So there's enough gap there. Once the upholstery is on, it'll come up to here, and then when the whole thing folds down, it'll fill this gap up with that. It'll be nice and tight against the back doors. It's all looking good. Okay, now to fix this in, it's in position, it's beautiful, it's working really well. To fix this in, I'm going to put these big 60mm screws through it, through here into the floor. It's not a seat belted seat. These are not seat belted, they're not used for seating passengers whilst the vehicle is moving. So there's no real need to bolt it to the chassis or anything like that. That would be necessary with if you're doing an M1 tested bed or one of these metal beds or something like that. But this very lightweight rock and roll bed, wooden rock and roll bed, can simply be screwed through into the floor. So, pilot hole, and I'll just give them a countersink to get rid of the head of the screw. And that will go right through there. There it is. Beautiful. Put another one here, then we'll do the front. A bit dark in here. I think it's just the weather these days. It's been very grey doing most of this build actually. But what we have is we've got it secured in the back. We're going to do the same at the front. We just need to put it back up to do that. Isn't that a nice smooth action? Okay, so I'm saying a couple more screws through this button here. There we go. Right, now with those pegs in, you see the thing doesn't move when you're driving along, and if you whip the pegs back out like this, then it'll move very smoothly. I've also got some felt on the feet of this so that it doesn't affect the floor at all. And as I say, so far as rock and roll beds go, this one is about half the weight, probably less than a metal rock and roll bed. And the good thing about them is if it doesn't quite fit in the van, you can always just cut a bit off. But luckily this one does fit. Sun has come out. The van is pretty much there. I'll just shut this cabinet. There we go. As I say, I await the upholstery, and once that comes, I'm going to take the van and do a full van tour. Okay, so this is the completed van, and I just thought I'd bring it down to the coastline here today, give you a look around it and do a little van tour, you know. So just quickly inside, we'll have a quick look round. And to start with, we'll just have a quick look at the cab. This van was in really nice condition when I bought it. 64,000 miles on the clock, full service history, top notch. One of the first things I did in the van was put this swivel seat in, and this really makes a difference in a van this size. Once that's turned around, it really opens up the back of the van. You get 4 people sat in here quite comfortably. This is fairly simple to do. You just undo these bolts at the front and do the same at the back. Then you push it forward, turn it clockwise, and there it is. So I think the swivel seat is a very nice feature. It does open the van up, makes it feel much more roomy in here. Now, moving along from the front of the van, we have in this first cupboard the electrics, and we have a 130 amp hour leisure battery, and that is powered from a 120 watt solar panel on the roof, and it also takes charge when the van is running. That all goes through this Renogy unit, which sorts it out essentially. And to go with that, we have a little readout on the side of this cupboard which will tell you exactly how much charge is left in each of the batteries, the starter battery and the leisure battery. And moving right along from that, we have a 40 litre 12 volt fridge. This is a brand new fridge. It has many different, it has an ice box as well, and many different settings. It also has an eco mode which will preserve the battery life. Very nice little camper van fridge. For cooking, we have the SMEV. It's a 9722, I believe. The 9722 has a slightly deeper sink than the other one which they make. But this is a 2-ring burner with a piezo ignition, so you don't need matches or lighters or anything like that. A nice deep sink with a tap, and this is all fed from this cupboard underneath, where we have 2 10-litre water tanks, one for fresh and one for waste. And we also have the 907 gas bottle in there, and this has got a quick release on it so that it's easy to get out. The 907, you've got to screw the regulator onto the top of it. It's a little bit tricky to do in a cupboard, so this has quick release. You can just snip it and it will come out in one piece, and then take the regulator off. Very simple to do. And for the rest of the 12 volt electrics, we have a 5-switch panel over here, and that will switch individually the panel itself. The next one is the lights. There is one for the fridge and there's one for the water pump. That also has a twin USB socket and a 12 volt outlet as well. And on the other side of the van we also have another twin USB there and another 12 volt outlet, and that is just controlled independently by a switch on the panel itself. And we also have this little reading light at the back. which is very nice, you know, late at night, make the place nice and cosy, just a little dim light on in there, very nice. And the van also has a 240 mains hookup, powers this double socket here. And for the main lighting we have these 6 LED ceiling lights, use very little electricity, nice and bright, and a nice warm light from them. Now for storage there are a few options here. There's tons of space under that front seat, and the seats themselves actually lift up so that you can get stuff in there, very handy. We also have these 3 drawers, or 2 drawers and a locker, which are just in front of the rock and roll bed. Next to that we have another locker which goes right down to the floor. You could get your duvet or sheets, pillows and things in there. Tons of space under the rock and roll bed itself. And we also have this back cupboard which has bungee cord on it, which is easy to sort of pull apart and get your stuff in there. Now all of the doors and drawers also have these little catches on which lock the drawer shut for when you're driving along. You don't want them flying open and everything flying out, and very easy, just push them in and they will open. Now for sleeping and seating we have the rock and roll bed. This is a wooden rock and roll bed, very easy to use. I'll show you in a moment. It folds out, I think it folds out to about 6 feet long, and it's almost 4 feet wide. It's 119 centimeters wide, just off the 120. Let me show you how this works. It's been very nicely upholstered, by the way. I got someone, a professional upholsterer, to do this. In previous vans I've tried that myself and it worked, it was okay, but it wasn't one of my favourite things to do, so this got farmed out this time. Now to get the rock and roll bed out, we have a couple of these little bolts which are really just acting as pegs to keep it still whilst you're driving along. But once those are out, if we just put that there, that will pull out with no effort at all. And there it is, as I say, that's about 6 feet long and it's just under the 4 feet wide. And to put that back into the seating position, you just got to remove the central cushion. It has a pull strap, and that will pull, and the whole thing is back into a seat. As I say, that's very smooth operation, effortless really. You put the pegs back in and then that will keep it in the seating position whilst you're driving along. Now what else can I tell you? The van has been well insulated. There's thick wadding, sort of plastic, shredded up plastic bottle wadding in all of the walls and in the ceiling. It's a 9 or 10 mil closed cell foam on the floor. That's underneath the subfloor. And we also have thermal blackout blinds for all of the windows, which just, we've got little suction cups on, you just push them on. So that's the finished van. All in all, I really enjoyed making this van. It all worked out fairly well. I have done this before, obviously, and I always work to a fairly strict plan. So the van is in really nice order. As I say, when you're driving along, there's not a squeak from any of this furniture in the back. It is really well screwed into the walls and screwed to the floor and everything, and there's not a squeak, honestly. So thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, do give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to see more van builds and tours in the future, do consider subscribing to the channel. I think the next van which I'll video, I'll maybe do a couple more Vivaros, but they've been videoed. The next one which I'll video is probably a Peugeot Boxer or the Renault Master or something like that, and this will be an H2, so it'll be a higher van, and I think I'll go for the medium wheelbase. So it's about the same length as this, but it is higher, and those vans are wider as well. So we'll do an entirely different sort of seating arrangement and sort of internal plan for that. And whilst I'm waiting for the Peugeot Boxer to arrive, I may do some different types of videos as well over the next few weeks. I did enjoy doing the walk videos, walking out in the countryside in the hills, doing videos of them. May do some of them. We'll see. Anyhow, I thank you very much for watching.